Hi, I'm Khusbu Haria and I welcome you all on the PowerTalk by AFST. Friends, today we are going to discuss on the Schedule 4 requirements which are laid down by the Food Safety and Standards Licensing and Registration Regulation. To begin with, I would like to give you all a brief introduction on regulations. FSSAI had published these regulations in the year 2011 on various aspects like packaging and labeling, contaminants, toxins and residues, prohibition and restriction on sales, laboratory and sample analysis, food product standards and food additives. The regulation on licensing and registration is one amongst these. Now let us see who must implement these Schedule 4 requirements which are mentioned under the licensing and registration regulation. All food business operators who are holding a valid FSSAI license or a registration need to implement these Schedule 4 requirements, which are nothing but the basic general hygienic and sanitary practices to be followed. That is the GMP, the good manufacturing practices, and the GHP, the good hygiene practices. Further to this, the Schedule 4 requirements are divided into 5 parts, wherein Part 1 talks about all petty food business operators applying for registration. Part 2 talks about all the general food business operators applying for license. Part 3 for all the milk and milk manufacturing units. Part 4 for all the meat and meat manufacturing units. And Part 5 is applicable to all the petty food business operators. The requirements which are laid down under Part 1, Part 3, Part 4 and Part 5 are to be implemented in addition to the Schedule 4 Part 2 requirements, depending on your food business activity. Hence, now I would precisely like to throw some light on the Schedule 4 Part 2 requirements, which is applicable to all food business operators. There are total 12 requirements under Schedule 4 Part 2. Starting with the first requirement, it talks about location and surroundings of the food business, food establishment or premises. The second requirement talks about the layout and the design of your food manufacturing unit. The third talks about the equipments and the containers you are using in your facility. The fourth requirement talks about the facilities provided for water supply, for cleaning of your equipments, for washing of your raw materials, for ice and steam, if it's applicable, for drainage and waste disposal, for personal facilities and toilets, then for air quality and ventilation, and for lighting. The fourth requirement talks on facilities. The fifth requirement talks about food operations and control. The sixth talks about management and supervision. The seventh requirement talks about food testing facilities. Eighth talks about audit, documentation and record keeping. That means the records which are listed down under these regulations are to be maintained by the food industry. The ninth requirement talks about sanitation and maintenance of your establishment and premises. 10th talks about personal hygiene facilities, which covers your hand washing, to your toilets, to your personal behavior, everything. The 11th requirement talks about product information and consumer awareness, which covers even your labeling requirement, what you write on the product, on the label of your product. And last requirement, that is the 12th requirement, talks about training of your food handlers, of your food safety team, of your staff, of your management. Having said this, I would like to end my talk by saying one important sentence, that is, all the food business operators holding a valid license must at least implement these Schedule 4 requirements, comply to these Schedule 4 requirements, which are beautifully laid down by our food authority in order to produce and manufacture safe and hygienic food for the consumers. Thank you.